Morning everybody, it's Kate from Blue Pelican. Hope you all had a great weekend. I thought I'd follow up with another vlog, just in response to another comment that I had on one of the other posts that I put out last week, which is in relation to graduate recruitment and how you get into this industry. So this is a really tough one, and I speak to graduates all the time who are keen for advice and feedback on how to get their foot on the ladder when it comes to securing an analyst position, or particularly nowadays a data scientist position that's very popular. And I've got lots of advice that I can give to you guys. So what I'll do is I'll put out a short post with some bullet points that will hopefully help you. And I appreciate at the moment it's going to be a lot more difficult for people with the pandemic. So yeah, I appreciate that all the help you can get is kind of the attitude and the way forward at the moment. So to start off with, very similar to the post that I put out last week about how to move into this industry, you do need to have a numerate degree. I would say that is essential to securing a data analyst, a customer or marketing analyst position, or a data scientist position. So the subjects that we would be looking for if we are recruiting on a graduate analyst or graduate data scientist role would be subjects such as, for analytics, maths and statistics, economics, physics, chemistry, potentially even engineering, and sometimes even psychology. Data science, computer science, or machine learning are really going to be the most popular because of the relevance of the subjects, the modules that you'll be studying, obviously within those degrees. And I would suggest that if you've decided to study one of those particular subjects, that's kind of the career that you're aiming for. So there is also, I'll be honest with you, a little bit of snobbery when it comes to looking at which university you've studied at and the result that you've achieved. However, that isn't the be all and end all. Particularly for me, when I'm reviewing a CV, I'm looking at the sum of somebody's experience. So let's say you studied a maths and stats degree from a top 50 university or even a top 100 university, and you secured a 2-2. It would be a box tick. It wouldn't obviously be as strong as if you'd secured a first class degree from a top 5 university, but then there are lots of other things you can do to build your profile as a graduate. And just to clarify, when I say graduate, I don't necessarily mean a fresh graduate, somebody with absolutely no commercial experience at all, but also considering people with between 6 and probably 12 months experience, maybe a little bit more in internships or volunteer work, or perhaps even first job in industry. So the next thing to go on to is really how you put your CV together. It can be really difficult if you don't have any experience. What do you put on the CV? So first and foremost, include your education right at the top of the CV. Don't hide that at the bottom, and always be really upfront and honest about the result that you got. It is worthwhile mentioning some of the modules that you will have studied, because there's a great opportunity to get keywords into the CV, which obviously people like myself and also the kind of automated platforms search on. So it is important to get the keywords in there. But I wouldn't go overboard and include, paragraphs and paragraphs about each module that you studied. It can look like you're trying to fill space. So I think it's worth mentioning some of the modules, because there'll be some good keywords that will catch our eyes. And then beyond that, you want a really good profile. We want to know about you and who you are, what you like doing, what your ambitions are, and also it's a great opportunity to demonstrate your communication style and skills. And good verbal and written communication skills are pretty important in most analyst positions and data scientist positions these days. It instantly gives somebody a flavour as to who you are and how you might communicate with other members of the team or other people in the business. It's absolutely vital that that is strong. And what I mean by that is you don't want to be too verbose. You need to demonstrate that you can articulate yourself and describe who you are, what you like doing, and your skills in a succinct and efficient way. You want to be able to get a clear snapshot of who that person is quite quickly and be impressed by how they describe themselves or how they describe what they like doing. So it doesn't have to necessarily be, a chunk of information about which analytical techniques you've used or methodologies you've employed. it can be about you. It can be about what you like doing, what your passions are. And I would suggest, if you like, for example, if you like problem solving using analytics, that's great. Like, that's a really attractive trait to have in an analyst, especially at graduate level. So I would talk about that. And then beyond that, if you do have any work experience, shout about it, whether it was an internship, if you did some volunteer work, if you're quite entrepreneurial and you did a bit of free project work with some friends from university, get that onto the CV. And again, you've got to really work hard to make sure that the way you describe that is impressive and engaging. I'll try and put out some examples, perhaps linked to this post, so that people can see what I mean by that. That might be quite useful, because it's difficult. I do appreciate that it's hard to start from scratch. There will be lots and lots of templates out there that you can use, but I can tell within literally a few seconds of looking at a CV, particularly graduate level, by scan reading and kind of getting a quick flavour as to the language that's being used, as to how impressive I think that candidate is. And particularly, as my colleague mentioned in his post earlier, the volume of applications, at the moment in the current climate, have gone through the roof. For graduates, it's going to be even worse. So you've got to make yourself stand out from the crowd. So I will keep hammering that point home. It is all about the language that you use. It's how you describe what you've done. You've got to use a certain level of descriptive wording, but you've got to balance that as well with the right technical keywords, giving a bit of personality to the CV as well, and talking about what you want to do. What are your ambitions? That's the most important. That's even more important, I should say, at graduate level, because you don't have a lot of experience to kind of lean on. Beyond that, anything that you've done outside of work that demonstrates a good work ethic. So if you've done, for example, volunteering work with orangutans, I don't know, abroad or something, that kind of thing is really great to put on the CV, because again, it gives the CV personality. It tells me something about you, tells me that you put yourself out there, that you are, interested in going and trying new things. And again, you can read a lot from that. Equally, put your interests and your hobbies in there. If you're into, sports or music, or you have a particular specialist hobby, again, it tells me something about that individual, that they can apply themselves, that they have something that's consistent in their life outside of work, that they're committed to. It demonstrates a certain type of work ethic and a certain type of person. And perhaps sometimes we read into these things a little bit too much, but they're just indicators that really help us to evaluate a candidate beyond the work experience. And as I say, if you're a graduate and you don't really have much work experience, these are the kind of things that are going to really help you stand out. And finally, make sure the CV is laid out well. We don't want lots of pictures and graphics. That's not what we want to see, particularly in analytics. Perhaps in creative marketing that might be appropriate, but in analytics we want good content, and we want to see examples of technical skills and experience and qualifications. So it needs to be laid out well. It needs to be easy to read, easy on the eye, and there are particular layouts that work better than others. So really basic: profile at the top, then your education, then your work experience or project experience or career history, hobbies and interests at the bottom, and always mention that you can provide references upon request as well. That's it really. It's not too complicated. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated. If you can get it right and kind of keep it simple, that's normally the best way to go. So if anyone's got any questions around how to put together, a good graduate CV, let me know. Put some comments in the comment boxes below. In terms of searching for a role as a graduate, the best advice I can give is to apply directly to the organisations that run graduate programmes. As contingency recruiters in the main, we don't tend to get a lot of graduate roles through. You will find that most businesses will try and hire graduates directly. And there are lots of big organisations who are still recruiting at the moment that run graduate programmes. So it's going to be a bit of a bun fight, but you're going to have to get your CV in front of those kind of companies.